Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome everyone. It is our first Sunday in April. So welcome to the show. So good to have you guys coming on. Welcome one and all. Good evening. Thank you very much for dropping in. The bell has rung and class has begun. It's time to make your way down because we're about to start a new show for a new month. Happy April. To everyone, I want to wish everybody who's celebrating their birthday in April very happy birthday in advance. If I forget you. All right. It's April. It was my sister's birthday. I won't forget hers, but just in case. Putting it out there right away. Happy birthday to those of you who celebrating your birthday today. Welcome to another show. It's good to have you guys up in. I see folks are coming in. Thank you very much for joining. Come on down, come on down, come on down. And while you're coming on down, share the live one time. Share the live. We got Garvin Richards joining us here this evening, and I'm excited to speak with him. We really have 1 hour here today. Like 1 hour. We're gonna try our best. We're gonna make the most of it. All right. We're gonna make the most of it. I kind of pre-warned Gavin because I'm like, Gavin, I think like we have a lot to talk about, and I don't know if we can do it in 1 hour. But if we can't do it in an hour, we'll make him come back, right? This is my show. I do what I want, right? We'll just make him come back. That's all. Um, that is of course if we do end up going over the 1 hour mark. We literally have a hard out at 8:30. I want to say welcome to the folks joining us via Facebook, those of you on YouTube, as well as those of you on LinkedIn. Maybe we have folks joining us from two places. So folks are joining us on Black Island Girl, folks are joining us on Jael Joseph Live. We got people joining us on YouTube, uh, specifically Jael Joseph. And I want to encourage you guys, if you've not joined the YouTube gang, you need to do so because Facebook has decided that our lives will only last or remain for 1 month on their platform. Therefore, I will be doing most of my lives on YouTube. So you better start following the YouTube page because you will miss out on some really good guests if you don't. So in so doing, I am actually only taking comments from you. So folks on YouTube, you got already you got priority. The folks on YouTube, I'll be taking your comments. You will get priority. You're viewing from YouTube. Your comments will come through first before anybody else. All right. So I want to encourage you to subscribe. I have pinned my YouTube channel. So that is Jael Joseph. I mean, it's so easy to remember, right? Jael Joseph. You're already following me, so you should know, right? Thank you very much to my sponsors on this evening, new month, but we still got our faithful National Corporate Credit Union with us. And I want to say thank you very much to the YouTube NCC. I want to encourage other folks. If you'd like to sponsor, please let us know. Drop us a line, send us a message, email us, WhatsApp us, send us a social media. Let us know if you want to come on board, right? And you can come on board. We got promotions for the month as well as for long-term contracts. So we want to encourage you, if you'd like to get your business out there, to come on down and stop by our way. All right. I want to pick up my one of my producers. I want to say thank you so much. Always putting these shows together. I mean, I gone are the days when I used to do it myself, and I want to say thank you very much to him in a huge way for all his hard efforts and work in terms of getting the best schedule, making sure everything runs good. Yeah. So I want to get this show. I want to say thank you to my kids for being very quiet tonight. Thank you to them in advance for being very quiet tonight. They're usually very quiet, but they're exceptionally quiet tonight. They tell you when kids exceptionally quiet, you're worried. I'm not worried because I've never had issues with getting in those kinds of trouble. get in other kinds of trouble, but not those kinds of trouble where, you know, I don't know those of you who had children and they would put thing in the sockets and put things in their nose and in their mouth. And I never had them problems. I never had them problems, and I'm one of the exceptions who hasn't had those problems. And I want to say thank you to them for being wonderful, being awesome. I see folks coming on and let me know where you're locked in from. I would love to be able to shout you out. My sister obviously is here. Most really just dropped in my quick comment. But I'm to the others. While you're so silent, come on in. Let us know that you're here. I would love to know that you're here and where you're locked in from, where you're watching us from, where you're tuning in from. I would specifically love that. We're gonna get this show on the road. We're going to get this show on the road. As I said, we have a hard 1 hour, and if we don't get everything done in 1 hour, we're gonna invite Gavin on again. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Gavin is somebody that I've known for quite some time. Being a media professional, he's been in the media space for years, for my and doesn't mean he's very old. No, he's not that much older than me. He's just been doing this for a long time. And I wanna, without waiting any longer, I wanna bring on Garvin Richards to this show. Hi Gavin.
Hi, good night, good night, good night, Jael. What's going on?
I am good. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks. Pleasure to be on board, and good evening to all your viewers as well. Want to big up
Yes.
everybody one time.
I was saying before we got on like now that I have not seen your eyes in like forever, and you're wearing like, is that like a special glasses? Like what is it like?
Yeah, that's a special glasses. Well, with the transition lens and everything, but it also has a special design. Although I'm not wearing it now, the special part, but it has like a foam cup to help keep moisture in. Yeah, I think we'll get into the long
We'll get
story.
to that.
Yeah,
Yes, we'll get into that a little bit later. I feel like we have to just put a little, give them a little excited. They probably people
yeah,
wondering like what they talking about. Those who don't know, But I feel like most Dominicans kind of sort of know your story,
yeah. Some.
because you've been in the media space for so many years. And Gavin, they say don't ask people their age, but like I'm tempted to know. Gavin, how old are you? Because you've been doing this for so long. Or they say never ask a woman age, but it's a lot to ask.
Well, I celebrated my birthday on the 1st of March. 44 years now, so
That's
I'm still
it,
young.
Gavin.
Yeah, yeah.
You're still very young, but you've
I'm
been
still
around
very
for
young.
so long.
Yeah, I mean, I started very young, like that guy in the NBA that's playing for 22 years, LeBron James, whatever you guys call him. Yeah,
You are you trying to function? Oh my god, this shit has been gone. I
yeah.
know those of us who follow you know that you don't like LeBron.
No, no.
Not a fan. Shit has been gone. So y'all have been around the same time. Um,
Yeah,
business.
yeah. We started very young, and you know, I mean, that's all I've been doing all my life, basically, straight from college, straight into the media, and yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. But I want to kind of know where it all began. I'm interested to know where it all began. And I want to, before we get into the swing of things, I just want to big up the National Cooperative Credit Union for getting on board with us for this show. And this month, they're running an Easter promotion. So those of you who are on the live, they're running an Easter promotion, affordable interest rates, no hassle. It's called Get It Now, and you can get up to $10,000 in cash. Of course, special terms and conditions apply. So contact your NCCU branch to learn more about that. Gavin, where were you born? Like where are you from? Where in Dominica is
Well, actually, I was born on Hillsborough Street back in 1981. To my mom, Yvonne Volney. Well, she's passed now. Rest in peace, mom. And to my dad, Peter Richards. So I was actually born in Hillsborough Street. Then we moved up to Goodwill, Federation Drive, and then after that we moved to Belfast. So I've been in Belfast, Maho, from since about 1992, thereabout. Yeah.
Wow.
So
So
yeah,
you kind of like, so you're a Rosa boy.
yeah. I was born in Roseau. I mean,
You
like,
don't give Rosa boy vibes though.
no, no, no. The,
Like
how
I
do I
thought
say
you
it?
were gonna tell me you're from Pichelin or
No,
you
no.
from, like, because you've never, I don't know. Okay, there's a kind of stushness that comes with being from Roseau. Like
Mhm.
like like you can, like, I knew as somebody who's from the country, I could always tell, no, I'm from Roseau. Because it's always
Yeah.
like a little, little snobbiness that comes. As a matter of fact, one of my very good friends, I always tease her about being from Roseau because of her
Mhm.
accent. I'm like, at first you think you're Yankee. Like, he's always telling her that. I was like, you're not Yankee, right? You just, because there was always a je ne sais quoi that came out from Roseau. But
Mhm.
I never got like Roseau vibes from you. You've always seemed to be such a
Yeah,
pretty.
that's humble. Yeah. That's a quiet guy. That's just me. I don't. I mean, I like to be in things, but I also like to be not be seen, not be heard. So I just go by sometimes under the radar.
How do you
Yeah.
do that though? Like, how is that possible? Is that something that you learned to do when you were very young? Like, how is it possible? How is it possible to be in things but still
Mhm.
fly under the radar?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know how to put it. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of just knowing when you need to speak, when you don't need to speak, and you just sit on the back seat and just observe. So, like, how do I put it? Like the basketballer Tim Duncan for the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, he was the best player on the Spurs for years, but he flew under the radar. I mean, he wasn't talked about. He wasn't the biggest marketed player. So that's my kind of vibes. Like I just do my stuff, stay on the sidelines, and just let things flow.
Is that your way of saying I'll try to remain the best. I'll remain the best, but I'll always call myself second.
Well, I do like to say I'm the best. Like, I think I'm very far from the best. I don't even think I'm second either. I mean, I still have a lot of work to do, even if I've been in the field for a number of years. But it's just being humble. And the public appreciates that about people, that you just stay humble and you don't blow your own horn, for want of a better phrase.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I like to blow my own honor. I don't know what about you. I like to blow. I believe in self promotion, so I'm one of those. So I don't completely agree with you, but we can disagree because we're both in the media space, and there have been times when we've not agreed on things.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and 40 thoughts. You actually kicked me out of your group chat years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, and I tried to bring you back, and yeah, you didn't come back.
You kicked me out of your group chat because you were like, I felt like it was like, okay, jail is just being too much, too extra
Oh
for my.
no, man, no, man, no, man.
So and I was like, I ain't coming back. I
Yeah. But the invitation is still there for you to come back.
once I don't miss it.
Yeah.
No, I don't miss it. I think it was like the best thing that happened was getting out of, because I've since never joined any group chats unless it was
Mm,
work related.
all right.
Moving forward. So yeah. But Gavin, like, tell us a little bit about your school days. When did you start? Where did you go to school? Where did you go to primary school? And I know you
Well,
mentioned college, straight out of
yeah.
college. So where did you tell
So,
us a little bit about that?
so I went to convent prep.
Mhm.
So, and Mrs. Datush or Miss Datush was my principal at back then. So, and from convent prep, I went to the St. Mary's Academy,
So you're an SME boy.
SMA boy, and then from St. Mary's Academy went to the CDCC, Clifton Dipini Community College. That's what it was called at that time. It wasn't
So you wore the blue and the black.
yeah, the blue and the black uniform, old school,
Yes, yes.
and we were at the back of the grammar school back then. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. When in your childhood did you like develop a love for sports? How did that come about?
I think as every young boy, especially growing up in Goodwill at the time, with a lot of access to Lindo Park. I mean, every afternoon I'll just be down there, primarily on the basketball court, but then you also play a little cricket as well, and that's just how it started. And then I just started following. Got, I mean, I really fell in love with basketball. That's my main sport, and then
Oh,
cricket.
really?
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought it was a different one. I thought it was. I thought it was cricket.
yeah. A lot of people think it's cricket, but I mean, I actually played basketball. I never really played cricket. I mean, I played cricket at when you have the little house competitions, but I wasn't good enough to make the school team. So that just shows you how bad I was, right? So,
Wow.
but
Because
but in
you love
basketball,
sports, but not good enough
yeah,
to play.
not good enough to play the cricket.
Wow.
In basketball, I had no problems making the school team. I mean, I made the SMA team from second form up until I left, and then also played for the college and everything. So basketball was my main sport, and then a little later on, I picked up football. I ended up being a goalkeeper for the Loda football team when they had the Division One league intermediate league and the DFA football league. So I did some goalkeeping there, and also in the Trafalgar football league for the Loda team. So yeah,
Wow. That is interesting. I don't know why I thought you were cricket. I thought it was cricket.
no, actually, cricket was my weakest sport in that I I mean, I would grab a bat and try and play like everybody else. But in terms of knowledge of the game, I didn't have that. Knowing the history, I didn't have that. It's only when I got into the media and then you have to do what you have to do. So started to do my research and stuff. Then I started to get a love for the game, and I said, well, hey, but that game is more exciting than I thought. And
Mhm.
yeah.
So tell me when you think about like or when people think about you as a child or your teachers, for example, what would they probably say? What type of student would they probably say you were?
Oh, it is. I mean, so I was a troublesome fella. Troublesome, not troublesome in a bad way, but troublesome in that, like, I'll go to school in a white shirt, the shirt will come home brown. You go to school in black shoes, the shoes will come home brown. So it's active, very active. But they'll also say I was a very good student as well. Um, for example, Miss Daytush at Convent Prep, she named her son after me. That's Garvin Daytush. I'm not too sure if you know him,
Yes.
right?
So
So and then that going to SMA, same thing. I mean, all the teachers loved me, always did my work and everything, you know. And I wouldn't say I got into trouble, but as a young child, you get into the usual stuff every young person will get into. But yeah,
wow. So you went through SMA. Obviously, your love for sports grew. What
hmm
like I know like right now, like my son is in the process of picking subjects because he's at SMA as well. And uh, that is kind of like the time when every young man determines what he wants to do for his rest of his life in at least in Dominica, right? Or at least in the Caribbean for the most part. So during those times, if you could take yourself back to those days, what would you say you wanted to become? Like what sort of subjects would you have picked? Like because he has until May, I think
hmm
May 1st or something like that to pick his subjects. What would
hmm
you have picked, or what did you pick, and
well,
what essentially did you want to become?
well, back then I was heavily involved in the science subjects. So I did chemistry, physics, biology, these subjects at SMA. And I actually I never really had a plan as to what I wanted to be, and I just went through the motions, and I did agricultural science as well, and went into college, focused on the sciences as well. And I just figured, well, yeah, I'm in the sciences, so either I'm going to teach or either I'm going to, end up in medicine or something. But lo and behold, I just fell into media, and that's a very strange story as to how I got into media. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that because obviously, like you decided, like you're not a scientist today, so you
Well, I,
picked.
I mean, I love my chemistry and I love my biology, and but I don't know. It's like one day I was at church and I was reading the readings at church. I had to do the second reading, I believe. And Mr. Ron Abraham, who was the owner of Mapping, met me and then he said, "You read very well. I want you to come to my office tomorrow.
Just like that,
Okay.
me.
Yeah, just like that. And so I came to his office, and then he said, "Well, you read very well, so I'm going to look at you, observe you, and I'm going to put you on the mapping news, very soon as a presenter." And that's just how I got into the media. It was just like that. From, I would say, a blessing from God. I was actually doing God's work, and Mr. Abraham heard me, and that was the beginning of my journey.
That is crazy. Were you even looking for a job?
No, I mean, I was literally, a matter of fact, I was still like the college. Um, we were just done, so graduation was coming up. So I hadn't even graduated yet. We were just waiting for to go for that, and boom, I got the opportunity. So I was like, wow, yeah.
You surely man didn't have a conception that you were getting out of school.
No man, no man, no, no.
That
I
is
think
that is
yeah, just
amazing though.
yeah. Mhm.
That is really amazing that he recognized that so early, and he was like, because that doesn't really happen nowadays, right? I
You
mean,
know, you know.
if it's a little pull, you still get your little, there's still a little pull string, but everybody wants you to have a certain level, or a degree in this, that, and
Mhm,
even
mhm.
a love for it,
Yeah.
and obviously that wasn't something that was evident from you reading the second reading.
Well, I guess that's what you call divine intervention. Maybe that was God's plan. He said, "Well, that's the path I'm going to put you on, and don't question
Amen.
it. Don't question it. And along the way, you'll see why I put you there, and you'll touch so many lives and do so many things for people. But I'm putting you on that path. So I guess that's it."
What was it like being at Marpin?
Well, the very first day I came, and I can never forget that. The very first day I came was the same day they sent home a bunch of people. So it's like Mapping is going through like a restructuring. So it's like I came into the newsroom, and the only person I met at the time was Lucia Fontaine. I don't know if you remember Lucia Fontaine. Well,
The name
yeah.
sounds familiar. Yes, the name does sound familiar. Yes.
So he was a presenter back then. So, and well, a news person back then. So he was the only person I had, and there was Kamala John Baptist as well. She had just won Miss Dominica, so she was the host of
Good
the
morning.
Miss, yeah, the morning program
Mm.
Mapping with her, and Taylor Remy. Taylor Remy was also there for a short while. I think she was one of the casualties as well from that. So I pretty much started off with very little, very little experience in the media first of all, and then your first day at work, everyone that you would probably look to ask questions gets sent home. So that
Wow.
was a challenge. Yeah.
Why? I mean, I find it very strange that at that time they hire on somebody new, but they get rid of so many.
Well, the way I can look at it is Marpin was going through some financial difficulties at the time. You know, if I'm coming in straight out of college,
They pay you
just
less.
getting credit, right, they'll pay me less. So so you can get somebody less to do something, and then but yeah. Just
Wow.
it was sad. It was like it was a weird feeling, honestly. I mean,
Well,
to
I would
walk
feel
in.
weird. I'm sure you must have felt like you taking people's jobs.
Well, yeah, I felt that way too, but I was also like, well, wow, how am I going to, focus or even, I literally don't know how to do anything. I could just read. Let's put it that way. I could just read. And even for television, there was a certain amount of training that I had to go through
Hmm.
before they put you on television. But he was just impressed with, I guess, my voice and how I sounded. Or maybe God told him, hey, you have to pick up that guy. Don't ask questions, just bring him in. I don't know.
Who were some of the people who helped you though through like learning at mapping? Like what was that? What was that like?
Well, there was like Annie Richards. She was the production person in charge. There was Carol Abraham as well. She was the manager in charge at the time. But I got a lot of assistance from guys like Linton Joseph, LJ. I
Mhm.
think you all know him as LJ
Yes,
Productions,
productions, yes.
right? There's also Dexron Hodge, Ibon Aki. I mean, guys are just coming back from mine. and also the cameramen that were there at the time, Ishmael Lewis and Frederick Francis, who passed away a few years ago. And they were quite instrumental. I mean, they would give me little pointers based on how they would how stuff was done, and I
Mm-hmm.
just had to try and fit in. And like I'm a quick learner, so I tried my best, and I'm also a person that I never like to be spoon fed. So if I know that I'm being put into a situation, I try my best, even if it's when I go home, to try and do as much research as possible, so that tomorrow you don't have to show me something that I could have done at
What was
home.
some what were some of the things you did at mapping, and how, like, how was that really shaped? Because I know, like, sometimes when you are thrown to learn things by force, you tend to learn everything. I remember that was the case with me when I joined Q95. I wanted to not just be on radio or learn how to manage the boards, but I wanted to be able to do events, and I wanted to be able to uh, do editing, and I wanted to. So I kind of just learned everything. What was that like for you? Was that a similar experience? And what were some of the things that you learned, during your time at mapping?
Okay, well, I started off in sports, and then I had a lot of work to do in sports. I mean, yes, I had a little background in sports, but like I said, my main sport was basketball, but the main sports in Dominica are football and cricket. So I had to hit the ground running with my cricket. And I can just go back for a mistake. I can never forget that mistake that I made very, very early, um, doing a cricket story. And I can only laugh about it now because I remember back then, whenever you see someone on the television in white uniforms, you'd say, okay, it's test cricket. And then colored uniforms would be one day international cricket. So I went to the Botanic Gardens now to cover a cricket match. And it was Cavaliers and Somerset playing. These are two local teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, well, okay, they're in white uniforms. So I called the match a test match. And then after, people were like, are you crazy? Don't you know what a test match is? A test match is the highest level. It's a 5 day match. This thing at the Gardens is a 2 day match. It's not even a first class match. So I didn't know all of the terms and everything. So here I am on mapping, and I'm calling Cavaliers and Somerset, and I'm describing it as a test match being played at Botanic Gardens. So obviously, I got a lot of flack for that, and I just had to say, okay, I have to do some more work
Did you
on
have
my.
to apologize to the people?
Well, no, fortunately, no. I think I just got some pressure from like my immediate supervisors and stuff, on that mistake. And yeah, so I just did from it. So I said, that mistake is not going to happen again. I'm not going to make an error like that again. And I just decided, I really have to hit the ground rolling, sorry, and just try my best to learn as much as possible. And I started contacting a lot of people, getting a lot of insights from them. A lot of them have gone to the great beyond now, like Tom Lafor, for example,
Mm-hmm.
Pat Stevens. I mean, I used to call him a lot. He's a guy a cricket historian from Marigot. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if you remember him. And I just started calling people and having conversations with them. And one thing if when you don't know something is you have to be humble and be willing to accept information. You
Mm-hmm.
can't want to have this feeling that I am superior and I don't need your help. So you have to. I just had to be humble, patient, and it took a while, but then I got to where I am today.
Wow. So you were mostly doing sports for a huge part. Did you get
Yeah,
involved in editing? Did you get involved in
yeah,
any other things? So tell
yeah.
us.
So let me give you that part of it now. Now, whenever I go into anything, I always like to. Oh, I say it. I don't like people to cut vary on me. So it's like I don't. Not because my job is to do A. I'm not going to learn to try B, C, D, and E. You have to always try to make yourself multi-talented in any work institution that you are. So I started off as a reporter, yes. And then by the time I left mapping, I was able to do camera work proficiently, video editing proficiently, news as well, along with sports. So it's like I was a total all rounder. So much so that when a next wave came to release people, they said, well, yes, Garvin might be doing sports and maybe we can do without sports, but Garvin can also do camera work, video editing, and news. So they had to let go a specialist, and they kept the all rounder. You understand? And that's just how I've operated my life. I always try to make sure that, I'm never in the dark about everything. I ask a lot of questions, and always just try to make sure that you try to make yourself indispensable. Although nobody is, but you just try to make yourself like that.
Yes, you have to make them need you, not
Yes,
want you.
right.
Yes, yeah, that's a Nanny McPhee thing. So I absolutely love that, because I mean, in our line of work, it's good to know a lot because it's not just for you and in making yourself indispensable, but it's also makes you more marketable.
Yes.
And people put a lot more respect because they know, hey, you can do multiple things. It doesn't always work out to your advantage because sometimes people feel like they can pay you one price and ask you to do all,
Yeah.
whereas they might pay another person the same thing and they can only do one. So it doesn't always work out to your advantage, but it's always good to know a lot more. So how long did you spend at Mapping before you moved on?
I spent 15 years at mapping. 15. I started in 2000 and I left in 2015.
During that time, did you ever think that there was going to be anything else? But because sometimes people come from college, and that is something that happens in the islands a lot. You come
Mhm.
out from college, you get a job. Whether you get the job you wanted, you get a job, you apply for a job, and then in your back of your mind, you're like, I'm gonna go study. I'm probably gonna go off to your university somewhere and study something completely different from the job that you're doing.
Mhm.
Was there ever a moment for you that you were like, um, I just here for a little bit to get the experience, to get this, again, and eventually I'm going to move on to greater things, to other things. Was that ever that moment for you?
Unfortunately, no. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but no. I think what ended up happening after was I fell in love with the job and I fell in love with the media work. And based on what I was able to do, the lives that I was able to touch, the experiences that I got, traveling the country. At that time, I wasn't really going out of Dominica yet, but just traveling the country, seeing people, seeing their struggles, seeing their successes. It's like I said, but there are not many people doing that in Dominica, and that's something I can look to master myself in and really make a difference. Because apart from just reporting, media people, they have a lot to do. I mean, you're a testimony to that in terms of how you can change the lives of people. You can tell their story. There are a lot of untold stories that go by, and if you don't have the media people to bring it out, people will never know of the unsung heroes who are walking among us.
Mhm.
And I just fell in love with the job, and I think that helped me one to stay in it, even if at the time, like for example, the pay wasn't the best and whatever it is. Like I always tell people when people ask me that, I said, well, I stayed in it because it wasn't about the money; it was about the joy. It's like coming to work or coming to an environment to do something that you love. That's priceless. You cannot put a price tag on that, and
Mhm.
there's no amount of money somebody can give you to do something that you love.
Mhm.
And I mean, when I started in 2000 and to where I am now in 2024, I mean, if somebody told me that I would get to travel the entire world, literally doing what I do, back then I would have said, you're crazy. So it just shows that, when you love something and you stick to it, you'll always succeed.
That is a really good, I mean, note to those of you on the live, those of you who are coming on. I notice a lot of folks are coming on, and they're tuned in. But it's just something to show that you have definitely done it for the love and not for the money, right? And often we are made to believe, not just by society, but like our families, that we're supposed to, oh, you can do so much more, like you can do so much more with your life. Did you ever feel though that, like, did you ever get that kind of pressure from your home circle? because I know your mom. I knew your mom before she passed. May her soul rest in peace. And I mean, she was a smart lady, very intelligent
Yes.
woman. She had her big job at Royal Bank, at the
Yes.
time, and I I'm making an assumption because I have parents too who wanted probably me to be a dentist, or they wanted certain things.
Mhm.
Were there ever those moments where she questioned your decision to remain in media?
No, she never did. She actually encouraged me a lot. And part of the reason too is that my dad, Peter Richards, I mean, he's one of the top journalists in the Caribbean. He works for CMC. He's the editor at CMC, and that was basically part of the inspiration. So it's like she felt like you're following in the footsteps of your dad, although not in the exact footsteps in terms of how he started, but you're following in his footsteps. So let's just see where it goes. And like she always said, with media, from media you can branch out to do any other thing. You can go into
Yes, because
law,
you know
you can go into
everything.
this, right? So I said okay, and she always supported me. Yeah.
That is wonderful, and you made up a point, and I was gonna actually ask you about your dad, because some people might say, well, you were doing exactly what, like, you were doing, you're following your dad's footsteps, and you must have gotten that a lot,
Oh
even
yeah.
you probably still get that
Oh
today.
yeah.
I used to think your dad was Ken, and
No, no. A lot of people thought that too.
we had that conversation about that. But what was his role in terms of um knowing that you were pursuing something or a path similar to his? Like, what sort of feedback did you get from him in that regard?
Well, he always encouraged me, and he always gave me pointers. He always gave me tips, and he'll always try to see how he can put me on to people who could push me in the right direction. Even to a day like today, even if I'm in the business for almost 25 years, I mean, he still literally calls me every day. Gavin, you can do this. Gavin, you can do that. Try and speak to that person. Try and do this. Try and do that. Or you'll exchange contacts with me and say, "Oh, call this guy in Trinidad. He can give you some, details on a story you're working on. Those kind of stuff." So it's like I'm still learning. That's the best way to
Wow.
put it. Even after 25 years, it's just this is as a profession that
You
you
always
never stop learning. Yeah, you always have to keep on educating yourself.
Yes, yes, and probably that is why we love it so much, because it does not there's never a dull moment. It's like, some people, you go to school to be X, and that is, you do it's the same thing every day, day in, day out. There's nothing extraordinary happening. In media, a day can start off dull and end up
Mhm.
on like a roller coaster.
Yep.
So no day is the same, and because of that, you constantly have to, you know put yourself out there to learn, and not just learn one discipline. So you might say, okay, I know all about sports. I know this about sports. I mastered it. But you also need to know the politics, and you
Yep.
also need to know, the health aspects of things. You need to know the social issues that are affecting people. You need to know, entertainment. And I know you've also dabbled. I mean, some of us know you as Rice Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did you get? First of all, where did you get that name?
Well, that name came from Mao when I moved to Mao. So, well, Belfast. So, like I said, I was a basketball player, basketball player and stuff. And basketball, when I used to play at Lindo Park in Goodwill, and basketball in Mao were two different types of basketball. The one in Mao was more physical and everything. And, I started off as a guy who could jump really high. I mean, I could dunk at a young age and everything. But when I went to Mahu, that type of game didn't quite, how would I say it?
It
That
makes
type of game didn't quite fit this style in Mahu. So jumping high meant a lot of risk because you get fouled a lot. So hard fouls and stuff. And then guys will be saying, but Mr. Jumping so high, but Mr. taking some nasty falls on the court, man. What happened? You know eating dashing and thing, man. No eating no hard foods, man. Rice alone you eating, man. And then the name just stuck like that. So they started
Oh
calling me
my God.
Iceman. So it was as a result of multiple falls. And Jail, I mean, multiple falls. I mean, as like a walk-in hospital at one point in time. It's like, I'll go to the game, go to the court, come back home. I have a sprained hand, a burst head, from falls, literally. And yeah, so that's how that name came about.
So you took something that they tried to make fun of you of and you made it your name.
But they made it my name. It's like the guys just said Rice Man, and it just stuck. It just stuck. So it was born in Mao, and then obviously at that time too as well. I had some of my friends who lived in Mao and went to SMA. So then they started calling me that at SMA as well, and then
Wow.
the name just spread. So I mean, a lot of people don't even know my real name. Sometimes they just refer to me as Rice
Rice
Man.
man. I know, I know. When did the DJing come about? When did the DJing? When did you start?
Wow.
Like
Well, if I give you this story on the DJ, and that was just something mystical. I mean, I can never forget it.
mystical, if I play on the word mystical.
But it just happened. I literally was at a party, and the DJ who was supposed to perform or play at the party didn't come. And I said, well, okay, well, let me just try a thing. I mean, I didn't have any equipment or anything. It's basically Windows Media Player, and I'm just, clicking songs and trying my best to think. And that party was for Dwight Farrell. And Dwight Farrell passed away. Remember, that's Johan's brother, Pusky.
Yes.
And, Dwight was so happy because the DJ didn't come. And it's like, I wouldn't say I saved the party, but like I
Well,
played.
music that's party, eh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
The party that music that's a party, eh? So you save the party.
yeah. And then that was just it. So it's like the reaction I got from everybody. I was like, all I'm doing, I'm just selecting songs. I wasn't really mixing per se. And I said, but hey, but that's something I can try, man. And you know me already, so straight into the little research. Tried my little thing, and boom, I started doing my little DJing thing as well.
Wow, wow. Just like that, eh?
Just like that. And from that, the guys brought me into the West Coast Entertainment. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Big up guys like Coco Killer and Navigators, Dr. Silk, everybody. And I ended up being the DJ for them. Within a year, of starting out, and yeah. I mean, it's just I'm a person like once I put my mind to something, I said, hey, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I mean, if I give you this story on how I started riding a motorcycle, I mean, you wouldn't want to believe that, but we'll probably get to that a little later
Tell
on.
me, tell me the story about how you started riding a motorcycle.
All right, so I always had this goal that I said I have to buy a motorbike and I have to ride a motorbike.
Why?
It was just something I said I want to do it. I don't know. Like some people have some goals. That was just my weird goal. Like I've always been fascinated by motorbikes. So I bought the motorbike. I
You
bought
bought
a
it even before you
Yeah.
you
I said, let me give you the story. So I bought a motorbike, a Honda CBR 1000. So that's a big bike, and I have no experience in riding the motorbike at all. Literally none. So I had to call Kendall in Triple K to pick up the bike for me, to bring the bike home, and then I went on YouTube and I started to learn. So I learned on, I learned on YouTube. I spent about 2 weeks just looking at videos and say, okay, all right, it's not hard, man, it's not hard. And then I have where I live in Belfast, I have a little road space. So I took the bike and I said, okay, we're going to take it one step at a time. So that's how I learned. One day I mastered, no, not mastered, but one day I learned how to use the clutch and everything. I said, okay, all right, good. Park the bike. Went on YouTube, went and looked at the other, aspects of operating the bike, and now I can ride.
just like that.
Just like that. No, nobody taught me anything. Just went on YouTube. I said, hey, I'm going to do it. I have to do it, and I did it. Yeah.
That just goes to show like you can learn to do anything. You can learn anything you want to do. You can like there's nothing like, especially with YouTube nowadays. There's
Yeah.
the YouTube University. You can learn to do anything you want. You love it. You want to do it. Just go on. There's somebody on there that will teach you just how to do it. And I never thought that you could actually learn to ride a bike on YouTube. Like,
Yeah, I learned everything, every single aspect of it on YouTube. And the first time I went, my son was there with me, and I mean we had a few laughs because I mean I cut off a few times, obviously. But then after I got the hang of it, and then I said, okay, so we're going to take our time. I rode around Belfast maybe for 3, 4 weeks. Every afternoon I'd come home from work, just do a little half an hour or something on it. And then eventually I felt, okay, I have enough confidence now to go on the road. And yeah, that's it.
wow. That is a really nice story, Gavin. That's a really nice story. I love that. Okay, so we've spoken about we haven't even spoken about you moving to DBSs yet.
Yeah,
Because I want to kind of segue into um you had a bit of a health scare,
yeah, yeah.
and we cannot not talk about that. Like, and I think that might take us into our cutoff point, but that would be good. That would be a good place,
Mhm.
a good cliffhanger to leave people. Um, you Something happened to you,
Yeah.
and you well, I learned about it online. Like, because I remember when I first met you, I was like, I want to know who Mr. is. And those days you couldn't really find much about people online. But there was like an entire docu
Documentary. Yeah.
documentary done on you and your condition. Um, and that's how I learned. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And people might in Dominica, if people know you in Dominica, one of the things that they notice about you is that you generally, majority, 100% of the time, you're wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're Stevie Wonder, or
No.
you're trying to be like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your health scare, and when, first of all, take us to when you first knew that something was not quite right.
Okay, so we had to go back to 2006. So
Yes.
that's a long while back, and it was Carnival Saturday. So the Calypso shows, had just finished, and so I went to bed and stuff. Then I woke up Sunday morning doing some house cleaning, and I just felt funny. Like I just felt like my entire body was getting tight. So I said, "But I'm going to die or something." It was just a weird feeling. And I didn't even have time to say anything. I just collapsed face down. Luckily, I was facing the direction of the bed. So it's like half of my body fell on the bed. And then I was told that I got into a seizure. So that was like the first time that I got a seizure. Um, so I was, taken to the hospital.
How did you like what caused you to get this?
Nobody knows to this day. So I got the first seizure in 2006. That was Carnival Saturday. And I went to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. The initial tests showed that everything was fine. And, so they said, well, we're going to have to monitor you for a few days, sorry. So I spent that carnival at the hospital. A matter of fact, I was there when Miss Darample's son was brought in. That's when they had stabbed him and everything. And I was put on medication basically. So should I say the name of the medication? Because I don't want to. Yeah, I'll say it. I was put on Dilantin. And that was a medication to control the seizures.
Hmm.
And then I was told that seeing that the hospital cannot identify anything that's wrong, because all the scans came back okay, um, that I would need to seek further attention overseas. And long and short of it, that's what saved my life, the medical attention overseas. So my dad got me to Trinidad, because that's where he lives. And we did the first set of tests. The MRI came back. Everything was normal. So, they just couldn't figure out what triggered that seizure. So then Just when the doctor was about to put me off the medication that was controlling the seizures, I started to get an adverse reaction to the medication. So I had spent like about 2 weeks taking the medication, unknowing to me that it was killing me from inside. So luckily for me, I was in Trinidad because, like I said, that's what saved my life. I started to get, blisters on my skin and stuff. So my dad said, "Well, you're getting chicken pox." So I said, "Well, I doubt because I've gotten chicken pox already and stuff." So he took me to the hospital, and that's all I remember. The rest of the story is what I was told. So that night I got to the hospital in Trinidad. It's like everything just went downhill rapidly. High fever, blisters, everything you could just think of. It's like my body was eating me alive.
Wow.
And it was a medical condition known as Steven Johnson syndrome. That's an allergic reaction to a medication. And I ended up in a coma. Um,
Whoa.
they had to bring the priest in because at one point in time, the doctors said he has like 24 hours to live. That's how bad things had gotten. I mean, my neck had gotten swollen, my face, my eyes. I mean, everything. I had tubes to breathe and eat. Well, not eat, but for them to feed me and stuff. I mean, it was just hell. And I guess through the prayers of my family and friends and everyone, I pulled through because
How
the
did
doctor,
how are you feeling though? Like because you say you got into a coma.
yeah,
Like were you ever like how long was your on you did you remain in a coma? Like
I think I was in a coma for about 3 days. About 3 days. And like I said, what I'm telling you now is what I was told because I had no, after I just remember getting to the hospital, feeling sick with, the blisters starting to show up and the fever. And then I just remember waking up after and looking at myself and saying, was I in a fire or something? That's how bad my skin was. My skin was literally burnt. I mean, I had the medicine was like it just turned my whole immune system and everything against me. And it's like my body was a disease. That's the best way I can put it. So it attacked me everywhere. Luckily for me, I mean I can laugh about it now. So it started from the head. So all my face and everything was like I was in a fire, and it stopped literally by the Queen's jewels. Let's put it that way.
trust you, Gavin, but
Yeah. So, but even that too, got infected. I mean, it came as big as a grapefruit. The sack and
the
everything. It
jewels,
was,
the jewels,
yeah. I mean,
jewels grew to the size of a grapefruit.
yeah, literally. It was. I mean, the doctors basically said I was not going to make it, and I was given 24
Whoa.
hours. That's what. Yeah.
Now let me because obviously a lot of it you were told. A lot of the things
Yeah.
that you're kind of telling us, you would have been told. So what did your father tell you was going on like in that time between getting to the hospital, getting into a coma, and then getting out from the coma? Like what exactly was going on?
Well, I mean, he's a strong guy, but he was in tears. I mean, he basically broke down. I mean, I always knew my dad to be my shield and my, this
Wrong.
indestructible person. But even that overwhelmed him, and I remember him because even my mom had to come because I missed that part. When I woke up, I saw my mom and my aunt there. My aunt Alice, who lives in Barbados, and my mom, because I went to Trinidad on my own for the medical attention. When I woke up, I saw my mom there. I'm like, what are you doing there? And that's when they slowly, let me know what happened. Because you also didn't want to give me too much information because I was still recovering. There's still touch and go. I mean, all my mouth, my tongue, my eyes, everything was just, my fingernails literally came off. I had no fingernails,
You're
so
joking.
yeah. I mean, if that was just, the toughest part of my life, obviously.
So wait, so I'm a little confused because you had a seizure,
Yeah.
even seizure medication,
Mhm.
and you have essentially have a reaction to the
To the
medication.
medication.
So
Yeah.
still not solving what
Not
caused
cause the seizures. Yeah. And interestingly, after I recovered from that, whole experience, I still got more seizures again. The seizures only stopped in 2012. So from 2006 to 2012, I had to be battling seizures, and they had no idea what was causing them, and then it just stopped. It just stopped. All the MRI tests, all the blood tests, everything came back normal, CT scans, everything, and it just stopped. And some people have their suspicions, maybe, as to what could have happened.
supernatural?
Yeah, I mean, I tend not to want to dwell on those things. I just say maybe it's something that we can't explain medically, but yeah, you never know.
Wow, Gavin, that is like, so you're in Trinidad, your nails falling down,
Yeah,
your your
my
all
skin burning off,
skin is burnt
yeah,
off.
my eyes. So let me explain to everyone what's going on in the eyes. So
No, we're not explaining to
we're
anyone
not
what is going
explaining
on
it.
with the eyes. No, because we need
Okay,
to have a part two.
okay, all right. We'll have a part two.
As yeah, because it is it. I think we and I don't even know how to navigate this in terms of because it can happen to anyone.
Yeah,
I not we're not gonna say oh they give you medication they almost kill you because like I found out I was allergic to a medication because they gave it to me. They well actually they tested it first, and they
mhm.
were like after they were like, "Oh, you're allergic to it." You know, I mean, and it can happen. I mean, you were taking it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. I mean, it took some time, one, to get to Trinidad, then it took some time to get the appointment for the MRI, then it took some time to get the results, and then the back and forth. I think I had like 2 or 3 visits to the doctor. Everything takes time. And even the doctors in Trinidad said, well, you have to stay on the medication because you have to control the seizures. You can't afford to get another one. Seizures can kill you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
it just happened that on the day that I was supposed to get the results, that's when I started to get the reaction from the medication. The 2 weeks of taking something that was killing me, unknowing that it was killing me. Yeah.
wow, that is wild. Gavin, we
Yeah.
need to continue this conversation.
No
We need,
problem.
we definitely need to continue this. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen. We spoke about it. And I'm thinking probably next week, Wednesday. So, Samash will liaise with you and see how the schedule works out, guys. And we have a part two to Gavin's story. I have a hard 8:30. And I just really, I mean, it's good that you're alive. It's good to have
Yeah.
you here still. And we're gonna find out about your eyes and why you wear sunglasses all the time and how that came about and all of that medical mystery. That medical mystery. Gavin, it was a pleasure having you on
Man,
here.
pleasure was mine. Pleasure was
And
mine.
we are going to continue on with the conversation. I know people are just like Martina is saying, Gavin, looking at you now, you never know that you went through all of this.
Yeah.
You know, brought press brought you back, bro. You're a living miracle. That's from Karen Winston. You know, you definitely are. Like no nails. You have fingernails now. Let's see.
Yeah, I have them now. I have them now. But
Is it-
even then they grow funny, like some of them like a brittle and stuff, but it's better than nothing. Yeah.
Wow. To be continued. We're
We
gonna
can
give
see.
you more of Gavin's story next week. Hopefully, we can get him back on next week once the schedules make sense. We're gonna get him back on so we can continue this story. Gavin, it was a pleasure hanging out with
Yes.
you for a little bit. And to be continued. Stick a pin in it. To be continued, guys. We have more of Garvin Richards' story. We're going to take it right where we left off
Yeah.
next week. So if you miss this one, if you're just coming on, you can go back and rewatch it. So it will prepare you for next week. It will prepare you for next week. Gavin will talk.
All right. No
All
problem.
right.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Guys, next week, hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, we can get Gavin back on to continue this conversation. I mean, I know the story, but you're going to find out. Stay tuned. Thanks again to all those of you who tuned in. And we will be back next week for part two, hopefully, of Gavin Richards' Rice Man, his story. All right? Stay tuned for that. I want to say thanks again to my sponsor, the National Cooperative Credit Union. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you to all those of you who tune in. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel because the programs are only left for a short space of time on Facebook. So it's only for 1 month. After that, Facebook will take it down. So I want to encourage you to go and follow and subscribe on to my YouTube channel, and you can get all of my past shows. We're putting together playlists, so like shows will be captured together, so you can rewatch on your own time, in between time, whenever you feel like it. You can rewatch every single show. And don't forget, you can get it now. That is the Easter promotion, the Easter edition, going on at the National Cooperative Credit Union, where you can get up to $10,000 today. Find out more by visiting one of the 5 NCCU branches located around Dominica. Thanks again to those of you who tuned in from there and far. We'll be back next week with more. See you then. Bye bye.